Welcome to Sex Talk with Kelly, where I invite you to spend the next 30 minutes embracing your sexuality and exploring your edges. We have a hot topic for you today. We are going to be exploring desire and intimacy for the whole session with my friend and colleague, Joanne Flannery. So let's get this sexy show on the road. Welcome, Joanne Flannery. She is a board-certified clinical sexologist, marriage and family therapist working at an elite private practice in Chicago. And she is my friend and business partner of Sexology International.
That's right.
Thanks for being here today, Jo.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's always fun when we can get into this.
Always fun to take a trip up to Canada.
Exactly.
That's right.
So let's start by talking about desire discrepancy. We see that with a lot of the clients that we work with, a lot of the presenting complaints are desire discrepancy.
That's
so
right.
Meaning one person in the relationship has a lower desire than the other one. So it can be challenging to navigate. So can you just shed some light on desire discrepancy?
Yeah, and so desire discrepancy is when one person wants sex more or differently than another person. And so one person might actually be interested in something that's kinky and the other person's not. So that could be another form of desire discrepancy. But I see it a lot in my clients. And there's a common misconception that if it's a heterosexual couple, that the female is the low desire partner and the male is the high desire partner, and that's not representative of my clients. It's equal.
I would agree with you. Mine equal as well.
Yeah, that's right. And so one of the things that I do right away to educate people on their desire and their arousal is I go through Dr. Rosemary Bassen's sexual motivation cycle.
Yep.
And I talk to them about how there's spontaneous desire, which is a desire that, you know, you're sitting or you see your partner or you smell something and all of a sudden you feel like you want to have sex. And then there's responsive desire, which is from a place of sexual neutrality. You attempt to have sex with the appropriate context, with the appropriate sexual stimuli, and with a willingness to engage in sex. And so from there, one may feel a responsive desire. And so that comes after arousal. They realize that they feel desire. And so I work with my clients with a sexual motivation cycle to illuminate that for them, to show them that just because one person doesn't have spontaneous desire doesn't mean that they don't have desire at all.
Right. They just might be responding differently, or they feed into the responsive desire cycle more so often. Or even if they do feel spontaneous desire, it could be at an inopportune time. So let's say you're just getting out of the shower and you're like, oh, I feel like I could be intimate with my partner or partners right now. But then you're like, nope, gotta get ready for work, and then you're out the door. So even when it does present, it might, you might push it away because life is busy. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean desire is not there. It just means that it could be responsive desire, which is very common and normal. That's right. Everyone has responsive desire. Not everyone has spontaneous desire. And so I'll see in my couples the person with low desire, and then there's a person with high desire, and the person with high desire will think, my partner is not attracted to me, my partner doesn't love me, my partner just plain out doesn't want to have sex with me no matter how many advances I make, how special I try to make the relationship, they don't want to have sex. And that's very hurtful for the person who's making the sexual advances, but they don't understand that their partner has responsive desire. They don't have this feeling of spontaneous desire. So them wanting their partner to want them is something that will happen over time if you take the time and you start to engage in sex and you're both on the same page. But it can be very hurtful. To the people in the relationship. Yes. Very confusing. I think that's a good way to put it. And it's nice that there's this educational tool now, or like the sexual motivation cycle, to give some context to what is going on. So if you're wanting to set yourself up for success, what can we do to make sure that we're using appropriate stimuli that
partners are wanting, and giving ourselves the time and energy to be able to get there and to welcome responsive desire into the scenario.
Yes, exactly. And so when you bring up the appropriate sexual stimuli, that makes me think of one of our all-time favorite theorists is Esther Perel.
Esther Perel, we love her.
We love her. We love you. Are you watching?
We love you. Are you watching? She wrote Mating in Captivity and world-renowned. So
right.
We're very thankful for her work.
And so one of the things that she says is that because oftentimes women are pigeonholed as not wanting to have sex, as low desire. And she says that women, it's not that they don't want sex, it's they don't want the sex that they're having. And so that can go across the board for all genders.
I think that needs to be repeated.
So it's not that women don't want to have sex, it's that women don't want to have the sex that they're having. And I've heard this echoed with from other sex therapists as well. And I think that it spans across all genders in the sense that if your sex is not, if you're not adding something new or something's exciting, or if it's the same thing, it's not interesting, and that doesn't draw people. That doesn't draw people to sex.
It's not erotic, exactly.
That's right.
And you could have got into a sexual script with your partner or partners, and it could have been exciting.
Right.
But then once you do it over and over again, then it becomes a bit of routine, and it's less excitement, right? So it's about how to navigate that to inject some novelty or newness or a heightened intimacy in that experience.
That's right. And something that we've talked about before is maintenance sex is an important part of a relationship. And so the old sex that you're having is still really good for helping you maintain a bond and stay intimate, but at the same time, in order to want to, expand your sexual repertoire and have more sex and have both people feel more engaged, you want to keep things new and keep the conversation going.
And exciting. So it's about having a variety of types of sex that you're having with one another and not just sticking to the one kind all of the time.
That's right. And speaking up, that if there's two people in the relationship, both of the people have a say in the type of sex that they're going to have.
Communication is key. I think it's been a theme throughout this entire show, but being able to open up the dialogue and make sure that it's ongoing. And even if you think things are well, checking in with your partner or partners. How are you feeling about our sex life?
Yes.
What's going on for you? Are you really happy with it? Are you really fulfilled?
That's right. And I like meta communication. So talking about how you're communicating is really important. When I talk, do you listen? Do you feel offended? Do you take offense to what I say, or do I come across as I want to come across? Because it's so important to have that communication.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about differentiation with David Schnarch? He's another person that we often refer to, and he talks about the importance of differentiation to have a healthy sex life.
That's right. So differentiation means that if it's David Schnarch talks a lot about heterosexual monogamous couples, and so in that sense, it's two people who essentially can stand on their own 2 feet. So you're not too emotionally tied to each other, but you're not too distant. And so there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle where you feel close, but you feel autonomous and you have your own life.
Which is really important, right? Because we have to be able to fulfill our own needs as well, not just rely on our partner or partners to fulfill all of our needs. And vice versa, we can't fulfill all of our partner or partner's needs all of the time. We need to be tapping into our own resources, our communities, taking care of our health, all of that stuff. So I think that's really important.
It is. So he'll say that well-differentiated couples have desire for each other. And that's something that Esther Perel echoes too, is that you need to have enough distance and mystery in order for there to be this eroticism of desire.
Awesome. Okay, well, we will be right back with more about how to keep the fire alive. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are here talking with Joanne Flannery about desire and intimacy. Thanks again for being here, Jo.
My pleasure.
All right, so we were just talking about differentiation. Can you just review that one more time, just to make sure our viewers at home really grasp it, because it can be hard to grasp.
It is, yes. I think it's hard to grasp too. And so Schnarch talks about differentiation being two people in a relationship standing on their own 2 feet, looking after themselves, but intimately connected. And so that would mean that if your partner comes home from work and they're feeling really anxious and they're telling you about their day, because it was a very exciting day, they're feeling really excited and anxious, you listen to them and you empathize with them, but you don't take that anxiety on yourself. And so there's a barrier between you and your partner. And so I think that that goes against the grain of what society tells us, which is, you know, you open your whole heart and world to your partner and you take on their problems as your problems. And that is ultimately not helpful in the relationship and not helpful for individuals, because we need to be whole ourselves and then take on a partner.
I know, as you're even explaining that, you know, your intentions are good to be helpful, but ultimately you're most helpful by supporting them and encouraging them that they're able to do it on their own, as a whole person on their own.
And their own personal growth.
Right, exactly.
Not to take that away from anybody.
Don't take that away from them. Yeah, and that's when it has like that sweet spot, right, where you have your autonomous self, but then you're also connected, and you're very much taking in information from your partner and whatnot, but it's not necessarily driving your own decisions.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's continue to talk about David Schnarch because we love him.
Let's talk about Schnarch.
What does he say about high desire, low desire couples?
So Schnarch says that in every monogamous relationship with two people, there is a high desire partner and a low desire partner. In your previous relationship, maybe you were the high desire partner, and in your new relationship, you're the low desire partner. That can be confusing for some people. For some people, it might make sense based on their circumstances with their partner, but the high desire partner wants sex more frequently than the low desire partner.
And you know what, I find when I'm working with couples who are having a high desire, low desire, and it turns into desire discrepancy, it can affect things that are going on outside of the bedroom. So for example, let's say the low desire partner is just like puttering around in the kitchen, like doing stuff, and the high desire partner comes around just to give them a big hug, like, oh, I love you. And then the low desire partner tends to off me like, don't touch me, get off me, because so often they're fearful that, you know, I don't want to lead them on, I don't want to reject them, I don't want them to think that this is leading to sex. And then so often even the high desire partner could be like, no, I just wanted to give you a hug, I wasn't expecting anything out of it. So it can be an intense experience to be able to, that needs to be worked through.
I see that a lot too, and I see the low desire partner, they want to move to be more intimate with the high desire partner. They want to flirt with them. They feel naturally drawn to do those things, to maybe to take their hand, but at the same time, exactly what you're saying, they hold themselves back because they don't want the high desire partner to think it can lead to sex. And I think they don't want it. The low desire partner doesn't want it to lead to sex for whatever reason is happening for them. And so it really is, it blocks the intimacy in the relationship.
So, exactly. So again, another thing to be able to work through sex therapy as well. So David Schnarch talks about emotional gridlock. Can you share a little bit about what that means and what that involves?
Sure. So Schnarch talks about gridlock, meaning that there's a reason that the two people are not engaging in sex, and there's some story that has happened between them. Someone is harboring feelings about something that they're uncomfortable with in the relationship. It can be a range. It can be a series of small things. It can be one big thing. And so before the couple can feel desire for each other again, or the low desire person can feel desire for the high desire partner again, they need to talk it out. So
here we go with the communication.
That's right. That's right. So emotional gridlock is exactly what it sounds like. And it's not fun and it's not pretty, and it needs to be worked through. That's right.
Awesome. Okay, we'll leave it there, but we will be right back with some more. Welcome back. More with me and Joe. Always fun. Okay, so some of the summaries and the takeaways about talking about David Schnarch for me were to remember having a strong differentiated sense of self, so that balance of connection as well as autonomy. That high desire and low desire partners, it's normal, it's common out there, but it's just something that needs to be navigated properly through communication, open dialogue. And also emotional gridlock, needing to be able to work through the emotional gridlock before we can start to focus on having heightened intimate experiences. So we need to clear some of those blocks as well.
That's right.
And then he talks about balance, the importance of feeling centered and balanced within your relationship and within yourself as well.
That's right. And so a lot of the things that Schnarch says, Esther Perel also says. Where they vary is when he talks about emotional gridlock. Pearl will agree that sometimes there are things that need to be talked through, but she'll work more readily with eroticism and with bringing sex back into the couple's life, whereas that's not something that Snarch will start with. So there are different ways to approach desire discrepancy.
So what are some examples of eroticism that she might use in order to create some space or air to fan the flames? So I know she talks about distance.
She does. So she talks about distance, which is something similar to Snarch's differentiation. Pearl will talk about exactly like you need space and mystery in order to keep the flame of desire alive.
Right.
And so she talks a lot about eroticism. And so one thing that she'll suggest with her couples is to think about what was so erotic to you in the beginning of your relationship. What were some things that you were doing in the beginning of your partnership or your relationship with multiple partners that you can kind of bring back or try again. And so it's trying to get back into the mindset of new and erotic sex.
Yeah, and one thing that she said that I always pull on as well is look at your partner through the eyes of another, right? So often if you're in a long-term monogamous relationship, you might be hearing the same jokes over and over again, doing the same things, same stories over and over again. So we start to take our partner or partners for granted at that time. So it's a really good opportunity to look at your partner through the eyes of another. So if you're out at a party, or if they're giving a public speak, or if they're in a band, or whatever they do where they're thriving, it's a really good opportunity to go, but look at them through another lens.
That's right. And so that's a great way to rekindle attraction with your partner. And something that brings up for me that Pearl talks about is you don't know your partner 100%.
Right.
When people are together for long enough, they think, I know everything you're thinking. I know what you had for dinner. I know what you want to do this weekend. I know what kind of sex you want. I know what kind of fantasies you have. And that's not true. Everyone has a private mind. And so she'll say that desire is left in understanding that you don't know your partner. There is mystery. And so seeing your partner through the eyes of another helps bring back attraction. And I think it also starts to invite that sense of mystery back, the sense of, I don't fully know you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I hope you're having as much fun as I am having with Joe. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was oftentimes I see couples in my practice where maybe one partner is saying, you know, I'm not interested in sex because I'm not having my emotional needs met. And then I'm hearing the other partner say, well, I'm not having my sexual needs met, so I'm not wanting to meet your emotional needs. So it turns into this cycle where, well, you're not giving me sex, so I'm not giving your emotional need. Well, you're not giving me my emotional needs, so I'm not engaging in sex. So, Joe, can you share a little bit about how to navigate something like that?
Sure. So, unfortunately, what's understood in the sex therapy community, and this is more gender stereotypes, a time that's set aside specifically for romance. So not a weekly check-in on what's going on with work or what's going on with your relationship or other partners or the kids, but time that's just specific for you and I are out to just enjoy ourselves.
Some fun.
Some fun. We're not talking about bills. Like, we can actually flirt. And so that is a rich, untapped resource for a lot of people. Romance goes right out the window because life gets so busy.
Right.
But we spend so much time, we devote so much time to work, and then working when we're home, and then maybe people have a hobby like working out or photography, and you're devoting a ton of time to these things. Devote some time to your relationship sexually. Not just time to have sex, but time to stay connected.
Right. And so that can be done through dates, romance, baths together, just some time together being playful, so you can start to flirt again.
Having fun, yeah, playing is really important, that's right.
Esther always talks about that, right? She's like, tap into your erotic creativity by being playful, like go out dancing and bring that energy home. Do whatever you want that excites you, but as a couple, and that invites some newness, novelty within your dynamic.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, what else do we have on the list here? difficult to manage when couples are too close. So that can be something that stifles desire. So can you tell us a little bit about that when people are maybe too enmeshed?
That's right. And so the silly thing about intimacy is when you're too close and it starts to bring anxiety into the relationship, the answer feels like you need to be closer. When there's anxiety, you want to pull someone closer. And the best answer is that at that point you probably need to take a little bit of space. And so we'll go back to Snarch's differentiation. You need to be able to tolerate this, these not only happy feelings with a partner, but also negative feelings with a partner, because that's where you're going to grow. And so you need to step back and build yourself up a bit before you can come back together and have a happier medium intimacy-wise.
And you know, the way that you're saying that, it's so healthy, because sometimes people, when, like you said, they're feeling anxious, they could lead into the relationship, and then the other person's maybe pulling out, trying to maintain that healthy balance, and then it becomes this pursuer-distancer cycle, which doesn't feel good.
It doesn't,
because you constantly feels like this person's smothering me. I'm trying to create balance, but this person feels like, oh, they're running away from me.
Right.
So really, it's about checking yourself, getting grounded in who you are, so then you're emotionally connected, but connected to your sense of autonomy.
Right. And so really important at that point too is to tell your partner what I'm doing. I'm not pulling away from you because I don't love you. I'm feeling a little anxious because of how close we are right now. If you're able to see that, if you're able to voice that. But the important thing is to say, I'm here for you and I love you, but I need just a little bit of space. Tell the person where you are. Don't leave people guessing.
Joe, I'm here for you and I love you, but I need to do a little bit of space to do the closeout.
No, don't leave me.
Thanks for being on the show. Just because we're out of time doesn't mean that you have to end here. If you wish to dive deeper, please visit my website, sexologyinternational.com, where we're always uploading new information for you to explore and embrace your sexuality in the comfort of your own home. And if you're interested in individual, relationship, or sex therapy, please visit blisscounseling.ca. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm wishing you a very sexy night.